Hello and welcome back to the farm. Well, it's been a very interesting week. A lot of things have happened, a lot of changes have been made. So, as we go through this video, we'll talk about some of what has happened. The first task that I had to accomplish this week was to try and rewire the starter on the Bulldozer. If you recall back to when I was trying to fix the pony motor and the carburetor, I cut a couple of the wires. So I thought that I could just find where I had made the cuts, chop them off, and put new ends on them. I brought the multimeter out, I was checking continuity, everything seemed good, so I figured I would just finish the job. Unfortunately, once I made final connections, the Bulldozer didn't start. So what I ended up doing was checking the resistance of some of the wires, and it was way off what it should be for this wire. So I figured that some water may have gotten into the wires and corroded some of the copper, and there were problems inside the wires. So it wasn't just fixing a cut wire and crimping on some new ends. The problem was deeper than what I thought it was. So after about a half hour of crimping on new wires and doing some testing and rewiring things, what I decided to do was just pull a new wire, recrimp some terminals for the starter button, and just start from scratch. So what I thought was going to be about a 15-minute job actually took me about 2 hours when all was said and done. But that was okay because I got to fix some of the deficiencies of my initial wiring project. Not that anything was wrong with it, but the wire wasn't quite long enough and I didn't really have it routed appropriately where I wanted it to go. So I took the opportunity to fix the problem and get this wiring job done right. Now this is all in preparation to sell the Bulldozer. As I've said for the past several videos, I would love to get the Bulldozer sold by winter so that somebody else could use it. But more on that later. It seems like with everything I do lately, it takes 2 or 3 times as long as what I expected. But I got the wiring done, I tightened up all the final bolts, I did some final multimeter testing, and then the moment of truth was to push the button. And there you go. Everything worked. This job is done, and I'm happy. I got it done before it snowed. The one final mechanical task I had to do was to adjust the flapper on the diesel stack. It wasn't closing properly. Once that was done, I brought my trusty weed whacker and chainsaw, and I have a project that I want to start, and it's a little bit late in the season. But there's a land bridge that goes across the pond that separates my smaller pond from the larger pond on the property next to mine. And this land bridge is what you use to get, say, a tractor or an ATV from one side of the pond to the other. And as you can see, well, you can't see it. That's the problem. The land bridge is roughly where I'm standing, but because of overgrowth, which has occurred all over this property, and fallen trees, I can't really access the land bridge, comfortably anyway. So I want to try and clear all of this land bridge over the coming weeks, hopefully before it snows. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a whole lot done today. I ran out of gas for the chainsaw, so as I was making my way back from the pond area to the farm, I heard some noises, and I noticed something. Over by my Bulldozer, there's people snooping around. Sketchy people.
What's going on?
Actually, they're not sketchy at all. I'm just kidding. This is George and Christine from the YouTube channel Big Spruce Farm. There's a link to their channel in the description of this video. Go check it out, give them a like, give them a follow. So they're interested in my Bulldozer. They've been followers of my channel since just about the beginning, and George is always nice enough to leave a comment, and he's often said that when I'm done with the Bulldozer, let him know. So they made the long drive up from their home in Maryland to check out the Bulldozer. So we got it fired up, George jumped on it, drove around, and he's a natural. Now the funny thing is, they are doing exactly what I'm doing. They purchased a farm a little ways away in the Finger Lakes region of New York, maybe about an hour and a half away from my farm. And they're trying to fix it up. They have a lot of land to clear, so they decided that since this tool worked so well on my farm, that they would buy it from me and do the exact same thing on their farm. So I got to spend a couple hours with George and Christine, and we talked about the bulldozer, we talked about owning farms, we talked about rehab. It was a good time. We had a blast. They're great people, and I look forward to working with them again in the future. There is a possibility that we may see some channel crossovers in the coming year. It's exciting.
Well, you can see we're not at Big Spruce Farm. We're actually at our friend Dave's farm. If you've ever watched the channel.
Okay, I don't want to steal their thunder. Enough of that. Things took a turn, though, that same evening. We received our first major snowstorm here in central New York. Now, we only got about an inch this evening, but the next day, the snow continued to pile up. 2 inches to 3 inches, and it just kept going. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I hate snow. I live in central New York, but the winter season just isn't my favorite. I don't like the cold. I used to be an outdoor winter person. I'm not any longer. However, I do have a lot of tools necessary to take care of the snow, which is good. So, all in all, we got about 5 inches of snow in this round of snowstorm. There were more to come, unfortunately, but I'm very happy that I was able to get some of those tasks with the bulldozer done before the snow came. Likewise, I was not prepared with the fall decorations because it is mid-November. I guess I should have been more well planned for this, but I wasn't. So I decided to take the decorative hay bales and all my pumpkins up to the farm, toss them in the middle of the field, and with any luck, next year, I may have some pumpkins. We'll see. I guess that's part of owning a farm, planting stuff, right? Pumpkins seem like a logical choice to me. As the snow started to get deeper and deeper, I decided that it would be fun to take a walk around and see the landscape in the winter. I haven't seen this since last year. My poor bulldozer, though. Look at this. It looks like an igloo. I'm gonna have to clean all that off. I'm not gonna lie. There's something about the first snowfall that seems magical. Depending on what month it's in, it really puts you in the mood for the holidays. Sit back and relax for a minute. Did you like that? If you did, we could do more of those. But a couple days later, and about 8 more inches of snow, and George and Christine made their way back up to central New York to take possession of the bulldozer. We got the bulldozer fired up. There were no issues. Even in this super cold weather, it fired right up. So the schedule was that George and Christine would make their way out to the farm. We would do another once-over tutorial on how to start it, how to drive it, and then we were going to clear some snow from the front area. I had plowed a little driveway for our trucks and vehicles to get in, but the schedule kind of went quicker than I expected. Once we got the bulldozer fired up and we were ready to start driving it, I heard a ruckus up by the road, so I took a walk, and sure enough, the semi was there. It was there probably 45 minutes early, so we had to expedite the process a little bit. George jumped up on the bulldozer, made sure that the tracks moved free and that nothing had frozen up, and he was off. He drove the bulldozer up to the front road, and it just so happens that the driver of the semi has one of these bulldozers at his house. The same year and everything. So he asked us if we wanted him to load it up on the trailer, and we said sure. So he separated the trailer so that he could pull the bulldozer up on the lowboy portion, and once the coast was clear, he basically pulled it out into the road, steered it toward the trailer, gave it a little bit gas, and it was up. My neighbor Jerry was nice enough to come out and direct traffic for us. He stood in the middle of the road and made sure that during the sensitive areas of loading that the traffic was out of the way, and we didn't have any issues. The bulldozer went right up and we were on to the next step. It never ceases to amaze me how that in this process of buying the farm and doing all of these interesting tasks on the farm, I learn something every day. The driver of the semi, who does this for a living, specifically with construction vehicles and landscape vehicles, told me that in the cold winter months, what they do is usually the equipment is started up, it's allowed to come up to temperature, and when they load it on the trailer, they don't shut it off. They turn it to its lowest idle, and they just let it idle from where it's picked up to its destination. That way they don't have to worry about getting it restarted in the cold weather, and once they're at the destination, they could just bring the idle back up and start moving it. How cool. So with the bulldozer loaded, and it's still running at this point, he was just about ready to go. He chained up the bulldozer and put some emergency flags on it, but the bulldozer was not turned off. I thought that was very interesting. I never really looked at equipment on a trailer as it's going down the road, especially in the winter, but I guess it makes sense. So at this point in the day, it's time for the obligatory farewell shots. The semi-driver and my bulldozer made its way away from the farm, down the road, and into the sunset, as they say. It's off to a great new home. I'm excited for George and Christine. So let's go back to the beginning of this video for a second. Remember I said that there's been a lot of changes all at once? Well, sometimes you have to adapt to those changes. Lots of things happened over the past week. It was fall and chilly, and then it was rainy, and then we got snow. I was fixing up my bulldozer, and then I found some nice people who wanted to buy the bulldozer. The bulldozer got sold, so that asset has left the farm, and now here I am with 18 inches of snow. As I mentioned, I don't really like snow too much, so over the past summer, I've posted videos every week about all the work I've been doing on the farm. That's going to have to change a little bit because I'm not going to be spending quite as much time on the farm as I did during the summer. I'm not going to be out with shorts and a t-shirt working on buildings or clearing land. The land clearing project is largely done, at least for the season. I do have some intentions of coming out to the farm and possibly putting up some plywood and starting that process, but it's not something I really want to do over the cold winter months. largely because I don't have to. This is a hobby property, and I want to keep it that way. I don't want to burn myself out or start doing things that I don't enjoy doing, because then the fun goes away. I love this property. I love walking through the woods. I love fixing it up, and I want to continue the enjoyment factor of doing that stuff. So that brings us to the question of, what do you guys want to see during the cold winter months? Do you like landscape videos, like what you're seeing right now? Winter ASMR type content? Because I can do that if you like it. Drone shots? We can absolutely do that too. I just need to get a new drone first. What about seasonal arts and crafts? I absolutely like that. How about homesteading stuff? Open fire cooking, possibly? And speaking of cooking, I love to cook. We could do all sorts of cooking videos, or even possibly coffee videos. Or what about music? I can certainly do that. I also have some great plans for product review videos. People have been asking for it. And of course, how about the seasonal outdoor videos, such as snowshoeing? I like to snowshoe, I like to record it. That could be fun. Finally, how about DIY and hobbies? I have an almost comical list of hobbies that I like to do, and I'm sure some people would like to see how some of this kind of stuff is done. So in the end, I'm asking for your input. The cold weather is here to stay, and I'd like some input on what you'd like to see over the cold winter months. But that's all for this video. I look forward to your comments, and we'll see you on the next one.